Crisscross, pulling floss, needle thread from black to red, pink, navy green, and in between, snug as my brain. I'm Stitch Me Sane.
Hi Flosstube, welcome to my channel, Stitch Me Sane. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok under the same name. This is my channel all about cross stitching. So welcome if you are new, and welcome to any older subscribers. Everyone's welcome. I haven't filmed since the 24th of January. So today I'm going to show you all of my February progress. I have not had any new starts in that time, which is unusual for me. So we purely WIPs that I will show you today. I've made some notes. So if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. And I'm going to try and avoid editing today, because I find if I can eliminate editing, I'm more likely to film a video. I do want to try and film monthly this year, so I'm already a little off track, but today is the 1st of March 2026, and it is the first day of autumn here in Australia. And the weather is absolutely turning it on. It is raining for the very first time in a long time, where it hasn't just dried on the ground. We've had a very hot summer. It's still relatively warm and humid, but it is bucketing down outside. So I thought today, being a Sunday, would be a good opportunity to film a video for you all, leading into the change of season for us here in Australia. And I'm a bit jealous because I really don't like winter, and all of the rest of you on the other side of the world are starting to warm up as we get a bit colder. So yeah, it's going to be another long cold winter, no doubt. Yeah, so I think let's just get started. I've got 16 WIPs to show you today that I've been working on for the last month or so. And another reason I really wanted to film was because I wanted to start swapping out some of those WIPs and working on different things, but was mindful that I didn't want, a huge amount to show you. It gets hard to keep track of that. So we've got 16 for today. Let's get stuck straight into it. Grab a drink, grab your stitching, and hopefully enjoy what I have to show you. The lighting is a little bit dark today just because of the weather outside, but hopefully you'll still be able to see things as they are. So first one I have up, and I'm going to show you on my little device that I use. I use Pattern Keeper. It is a 2x2 stitch art, which is a business you can find over on Etsy. And this one I am stitching with my good friends Nancy at Bohemian Stitchery, and you can find her here on Flosstube and over on Instagram, and my other two good friends Michelle and Vicky. And we are stitching this one in anticipation of seeing each other at our next retreat in August this year, with a goal of 20%. We've all used silk from Silks for You, and hopefully we can all reach that goal. This is what the chart looks like. So it is really intricate. I actually call it my 2x2 lace piece, because you can see all the little stitches in there that kind of have a bit of a lace appearance. It's not small. It's actually a total of 44,225 stitches, and I'm at 6.69%. I am using a navy fabric for this one. I'm really loving the darker fabrics at the moment, and it's a 25 count navy Lugana. The thread that I'm using, as I said, is a Silks for You. It is absolutely stunning. It might be hard to see, so I'll put it up against the fabric. Since I last saw you, I've actually put in 2,007 stitches on this piece, and I'm now at 6.69%. So creeping towards that 20% goal. This is where I am at. Oh, the light's coming through. Let me just fold this a little bit. That's the only problem with darker fabrics. This is where I am at. So you can see what I mean about that lace effect in there. But the color of this silk is just stunning. It is highly variegated, so I've sort of been playing around a little bit. You can see there's some chunks here, but then I've kind of tried to stitch differently over on this section. So we'll see where we end up landing. It might just be a bit of a mottled variety of different sort of appearances with this thread. The thread sort of has a bit of a sunset feel to it with the purples and the oranges and the yellows. So yeah, really enjoying this. As you can tell by the 2,000 stitches that I have put in. It's not massive on the fabric, as I said, 44,000 odd stitches. I have 4 charts from 2x2 Stitch Art, so I highly recommend them. They're just such fun samplers to stitch. So that's the first one I've been working on. The next one is one that's probably familiar to a lot of you, and that is the Haid Sale of 2026. Oops, sorry, I just bumped that. Gave you a bit of a wobble. So the Haid Sale this year, I did try last year, I really didn't get very far, and I thought, right, this year I am going to make a more solid effort to get some goals finished. You all who are participating originally know that if you were to get a page finish, you would end up getting the bonus Amy Stewart chart. Heaven and Earth Designs were generous enough to provide us that chart without the need to stitch a full page, but I am still committed to achieving that goal this year, if possible. It's not a huge chart. I chose the one called The Sun. The artwork is by Munch or Munch. I'm not too sure how to pronounce that correctly. This is the chart. It's a beautiful piece of art. Sorry, try not to get the glare there of the light in the background. I've started in the center and I'm sort of working on this section here at the moment. And I've actually chosen a ash rose Lugana. Still not too sure how I feel about the choice of fabric. It is a little tricky with the lighter colors, but I'm 2.77% in now, so I'm committed and I'm going to continue on. It looks great. It's just a little tricky to stitch on, so I do need good light. Since I last saw you, I've put in 924 stitches, and yeah, for a total of 2.77%. And it's not huge, 88,550. There are a number of other people that are stitching the Sun, but it's certainly not the most popular this year in the choices that we had. I am a Parker, folks, so I often have a lot of hanging threads on my fabric. I know that that's not everyone's jam, but that's the way I prefer to stitch all of my full coverages. So please just excuse those while you're looking at my pieces. If it irritates you, just look away, look past that and look to the stitching. So this is where I'm at. This is the whole piece of fabric. So it really is not huge. This is 25 count. And yeah, you can see that I've gone for the center start. So I actually have a number of 10 by 10 blocks already complete on this, which I'm really pleased. It's going to make it a lot easier if I stay on track with those 10 by 10 squares to get that full page complete. It's looking pretty good. I'm really pleased with it. So I think I'm around 2,500 stitches in total. There's a Facebook page where everyone shows their progress, and the other Sun stitches are far more advanced than I am. Nancy and I both chose the same piece and started together in person on New Year's Day. So it does have a bit of sentimental value now, this chart, and I would like to continue to work on it this year. So I think you will continue to see it crop up most videos as well. So that's my Haid Sale. Next up I have, so in my last video, I actually kind of put it out to a vote to all of you regarding my two oldest Carolyn Manning designs. They're both shooting stars, Carrot Cake and Dragonfly. Thank you to everybody who commented. I was overwhelmed with, you know, just your opinions and the fact that you went to the trouble of answering the question that I asked, which one should I focus on for a finish this year? Going through and sort of counting up the votes, if you like, it was pretty neck and neck. And so ultimately I made the choice to select Dragonfly. And the reason for that is it is my oldest Carolyn Manning designs. And so I would like to try and finish that first before Carrot Cake. Carrot Cake is a very close second in age, but Dragonfly, I just feel being the first, it would be great to tick that one off my list. I am a big fan of Carolyn Manning designs, and I have lots of pieces, probably well and truly over 15 now. And I was actually thinking that maybe in the future I should show you all of them in one video. So I'll keep that in mind for another rainy day down the track. But here is my Dragonfly. And this I actually started on a 14 count. So for those of you who are new here, I stitch on a range of different fabrics, whether they're even weaves, Aidas, linens, and lots of different counts and colors. And I definitely have some favorites, but it really depends on what the piece is. Sorry, I'm just finding a little needle here that's not attached to my needle minder. We'll pop that there. It depends on the piece that I'm working on, and 14 count absolutely works for Carolyn Manning designs. So if you're unsure about the 14 count and prefer a smaller or a higher count but a smaller cross, 14 count still really works for Carolyn Manning designs. So this is Dragonfly. Let me show you what it's going to look like when it is finished. The colors really remind me of like a kaleidoscope, and it's just stunning. I've actually subbed in some anchor threads back in the early days of me kitting up Carolyn Manning's. I have heaps of anchor threads, so I subbed some of them out so that I could start using them up. This is what it's going to look like when it is finished. It's hard to get that glare there. I'm working all over the chart. I am currently 62.04% complete. These are not small, they are full coverage. They're easy stitching, but they are all around 35,000, so they do take time. And since I last saw you, I've put in 824 stitches, so I do need to speed things up a little bit if I'm to get a finish this year. Stitch Pal tells me I need 44 stitches a day. Sounds easy, right? But when you have so many other WIPs, disclaimer, I have over 100, it's not that easy just to work on something every single day. So we'll see how we go, but that's the aim. This is where I am at. It's looking very good, I must say. I really enjoy working on this one when I'm really tired and I just don't have a lot of brain power to heavily concentrate on something more complex or delicate. So this is a great go-to. I've started with so many different sort of methods on this one, where I worked on this corner first and then I thought, oh, I'm gonna do like diamond by diamond, so sort of you can see where that method started to come into it. And then recently I was just like, whatever, wherever the hoop is, just fill in what you can. And so you'll see that I've just sort of started filling in little gaps as well. I try not to have very many hanging threads on these pieces because it's a bit of a pain to go back and fill in lots of little sort of single stitches here and there. So that is Dragonfly, and hopefully you will see progress on this one continue throughout the year as well. It's looking fantastic. So yeah, thank you to everyone who commented on my last video and gave me your view on which one should be finished first. Okay, Next up we have a donor stitch piece. I have a lot of donor stitch pieces, but I only have 3 works in progress. I love them. I play a stitchy game called Myth, and most of these designs are heavy block stitching, so they're really great to get some solid numbers quickly. The one I'm going to show you today is called Brave, and this is one that my youngest daughter Fleur is, well, she selected and she's looking forward to having finished. It's one of her favorite Disney movies. This is what it's going to look like when it's finished. So yes, I have, I think 6 in this collection, but recently Donna has returned to designing and there's a few more now. So we'll see how we go. I've been lucky enough to have the most gigantic piece of 28 count linen, and I am stitching them all on the same piece. I've cut up the piece of fabric, but they're going to be consistently on the same piece of fabric, which is pretty cool. I've also started Alice in Wonderland and The Little Mermaid, but Brave is the one that seems to be getting the most progress, just because my daughter really enjoys seeing me work on this WIP. So since you last saw it, I've put in 625 stitches and I'm a total of 16.19%. I think this is actually one of the smaller ones in the collection, and it is 39,404 stitches. So let me find it. It is here. They don't have a huge amount of colors either, so I can fit them all onto one of these plastic thread cards that I have quite a few of from Amazon, I think they are. And then I just use a little sticker, little circle sticker, to put my thread number on there, and then I can reuse them, either stick over or remove and put new stickers on. So yeah, not a lot of colors, but the colors really pop, and this is where I am at. Let me fold that up. The light's not working on the see-through for me today. There we go. So these are little tiny stitches on the 28 count. Isn't that looking amazing? I am sort of avoiding the bear at the moment because I noticed that I had a mistake, I think, lining these 2 sides up. So I do need to go back and fix that before I continue on with the gigantic bear and all the brown. And, you know, in true Carla style, I avoid fixing mistakes, and so I've just stitched on down here to the trees and the bushes and the little houses that I think are looking fantastic. I love seeing everyone else's donor stitch pieces. Quite a few of you have finished a lot of them over on Instagram, and I love watching your progress and then the finish. So 16.19% on Brave. Next up, I have, this is a bit of a crowd favorite over on Instagram. I'm stitching this with my good friend Barb at Stitch Brat, and you can find her on Flosstube and Instagram. We decided to start this one together in 2024, I think it was. So really would love to move this one along a little bit. I generally work on it, I try to work on it weekly so that I don't lose track of it. Since you last saw it, I've put in 671 stitches and we're now at 21.94%. So creeping closer towards that quarter, you know, that quarter of the way, which is pretty exciting. So it's an adaptation of the famous artwork Strawberry Thief by William Morris. Most of you will be familiar with that artwork. And the designer is Whoopie Cat over on Etsy. I have to say, go and check out that business because I think I'm going to have to get some more charts. There's so many just really cool charts. Here is the mock-up. That's what it's going to look like when it's finished. So I like the section that the designer has chosen and how they've placed this sort of view of Strawberry Thief. and I've been working up in the top corner there. Barb and I also, to get a little bit crafty on trying to finish this quicker, selected dark fabrics. So Barb has got like a mottled sort of navy fabric, and I just went with a flat navy Lugana on 25 count, 1/1. And it's really enjoyable to ditch the background. So as I'm stitching, if there's any 939, or is it 823? I can't quite recall, but I just mark those off as well. So every time I work on it, I almost get double the stitch count for what I've actually stitched, which is always fun. This is where I am at. Let me just fold that over there a bit as well. So I've nearly completed the full first page. I might actually use this for my thumbnail. Take a smile, if that works out. And the detail is just beautiful. I recently finished this large flower here, and the page finish sort of comes along here and then up here. So really getting close to that first page finish. It's not 4 pages, there's 6 pages. So the final page over here is a partial page. So I think the halfway mark is, you know, a little bit further over here. But that bird was not easy. There's surprisingly a lot of colours in that bird to give it that appearance. My mum loves this chart, so I do enjoy showing her every time I catch up with her the progress that I've made. And it's not huge, it's about 65,000 stitches, and given I am almost a quarter of the way, we could see a finish on this sooner rather than later. Okay, so that's the Strawberry Thief. Not a lot of colours on it either, with my little cereal pack homemade thread cards. Okay, next we have what I like to refer to as Rain, but in fact the chart is called Strolling in the Rain. It's a Stitches So Beautiful chart. I have a number of Stitches So Beautiful charts, but have only got this one to show you today. I am committed to this chart. I'm stitching it with Nancy, and we submit it for the Stitches So Beautiful monthly challenge each month, where you need to get a minimum of 250 stitches per week. You post your progress each week, and you go into well, if you achieve that goal, then you get the chart that's been selected for those months. And I tell you what, I'm not typically, like if I'm forced to stitch something, I generally run a mile, but having Nancy do this one and so many of, you know, the rest of you participating in this challenge each month across the world, for some reason I've been drawn to it. And so I think, gee, every month last year, I participated and have just yesterday joined up for the March one with this chart again this year. So let me show you what it's going to look like when it's finished. This is the mock-up. It is stunning. I went with a center start, so I'm sort of here, and I have come over and started the umbrella. It's 160,000 stitches in total, and since you last saw it, I've put in 1,633 stitches, and we're at a total of 7.62%. Now, one of my goals this year was to try and achieve some page finishes on my big full coverage pieces, and this one is headed towards that goal. This is where I am at. And you can see how dense this section is here. Very, very close to that first page finish. Again, just excuse my hanging threads. As I said, it's my preferred method on how I stitch. I tend to stitch full coverage cross country until I am confident that I might make a mistake if I continue, and I park my thread until I catch up, working towards where I've parked it as a sort of a benchmark to make sure that I'm counting correctly. I'll just fold it up a bit because the bit that I have the page that I've nearly completed is just absolutely beautiful. This is extremely confetti heavy, this chart. So I'll show you the detail there. I mean, all of these little stitches up here, it's just giving it that real effect. Absolutely beautiful. I have started on the background down here as well. So yeah, really hoping to see some solid progress on this one again this year. Nancy and I achieved 10,000 stitches last year on this one, so it would be great to do the same again this year. I know it's 160,000 stitches in total, but you know, 10,000 stitches a year really does start to move it along. And I think for me personally, the more progress I see on a piece, the more likely I am to stitch on it with these big full coverage pieces. So that is Strolling in the Rain, and you should absolutely check out the Stitches So Beautiful website. So many amazing charts. If you are a full coverage stitcher, it is just, whew, you'll have a wish list before you know it. All right, the next one is one of my favorite long time full coverage pieces. It's by Unconventional Cross Stitch, an Australian charting company, and I started this one, I think it would probably be maybe 2021 or 2022 now. It's called Enter the Void. The artwork is by Adrian Border, and I continue to chip away at this one every year without fail. Let me show you what it's going to look like. It's going to look like this when it is finished. It actually also has a companion piece that I'm seriously considering purchasing and starting as well. That is Enter the Void 2. So there's also an Enter the Void 1. This month was not only full coverage February, but for me and some others across the world, Kaylee at Kaylee Tent Stitches is one that comes to mind. We choose to work on our unconventional cross stitch charts and see how many stitches we can get in for the month of February. So this month I have, well, in February, we're in March now, I achieved 1,120 stitches for a 22.25%. The total is 172,000, so still got a way to go. And the hat is not easy on this chart, but I kind of flip between working on her and then working on the hat so that I don't get too bogged down. There she is. Isn't she beautiful? I love her. She's a bit of a crowd pleaser over on Instagram as well. She's really looking great. It's hard to pick up the light in the hat on this one. 25 count, 1/1, which is generally my jam for a full coverage piece. Just beautiful. Okay, the next one is a Heaven and Earth Designs called Tranquility, and this is another one that I started and have been working on with my retreat friends, Nancy, Vicky and Michelle. We had a goal for this one as well, to get 10,000 stitches by our retreat in August. I'm on track. I don't know where the rest of you are at, but I think I've just cracked the 7,000 mark actually, which is pretty exciting. And I just chip away at this one a couple of times a month. It is large and it's also max color, and we all know that max color takes a little bit more time. She's beautiful. This is what the mock-up will look like when she is finished. I started in the center, so have been working on this section here for reference, because when I show you, it does look like not much at this stage. I've only put in 230 stitches since you last saw her, and I'm at a total of 2.84%, but really aiming for that 10,000 stitch mark this year, which I think I will achieve, well, actually by August. 25 count, 1/1, and this is where we are at. So 7,000 stitches there, looking pretty good. Still a way to go though. But yeah, the max color is going to give it that real punch as I pull in all those ninja stitches. Okay, next one is actually a paper chart. I really would love to work on this one a little bit more, but the paper often distracts me from, and I tend to just gravitate towards my pattern keeper charts, but I need to change that because I have a lot of paper charts. So I was gifted this chart by Nell, Pale Fire Stitcher, over on Instagram. I just loved watching her progress and seeing her progress through this chart, and when she finished it, she gifted the chart to me, and I'm just so grateful because I love it. It's a Reflet de Sweet. The French, not great with languages, folks. We know the company. And this is what it is going to look like when it is finished. That border is amazing. I haven't really worked on it a lot, but I did put in 134 stitches. So last month I did try to work towards the Stitching the Winter Olympics challenge that a lot of people were participating in. And I got a few days in, but the month just got so busy that I kind of dropped the ball. But there was one challenge where it was stitch on something with a border. And so I selected this one and put in 134 stitches. It's paper chart, so I don't have really many more stats than that. I do anticipate that it's probably up getting close to 100,000 stitches. It's not small. Where is it? Here it is. I went with a 25 count, 1/1. With Ghana, and here is my very meager start up in the top corner there on the border. I like this needle minder. I got this at one of the retreats. That's a terrible idea. When do we start? I think I posted that on Instagram and actually got quite a few comments on that needle minder. I always have a needle minder on every single one of my pieces. I just find it far easier to pick up and get going. So that is my tiny little start. And I think this is one that I would love to continue working on a little more. Okay. We're getting there. Okay. This one is actually the very first Heaven and Earth Designs chart that I ever started. And it is Farewell to Anger. The artwork is Leonard Afremov. I think we're all familiar with this artwork. In, you know, true Carla style, first Heaven and Earth design ever. What do? I went max color, which in hindsight, maybe I should have worked up to a max color because this one is intense. I did go regular size though. So, you know, at least we didn't go boom to start with. In case you are not familiar with what this artwork looks like, let me just show you the mock-up quickly. I think I started this in like 2020 or maybe 2021. And that's what it's going to look like when it's finished. I started up here in the top left. So this is one that I would love to get a page finish on this year. I know I still don't. I think I'm at like 21,000 stitches or something, and I only put in 161 stitches since you last saw it, but every stitch counts, right? I'm at 8.31%, and this one's a whopper. I think it's got over 250,000 completed. This is where I am at, and it is looking oh so fine. Bring that in for you to see a little bit more up close of what max color really does look like. You can see I've still got a lot of ninja stitches there in that first page, but slowly working through it. Oh, it looks so good. I'd love to finish that lantern. I've also subbed out a lot of, like there's a lot of colours in here with maybe 10 to 100 stitches. And I subbed in a lot of anchor on this one. I think there was 236 colours in total as max colour. And as I said, I've got a lot of anchor. So rather than pull in my DMC collection for all of those smaller stitch counts, I thought, oh, great opportunity to knock out some and use some of the anchor threads that I have. And that seems to be working well. Can't tell the difference at all. So that is Farewell to Anger. I'm not too sure if you'll see that one again next time because I've got a lot of other full coverage pieces that are languishing and being neglected, and so I might sub them in for this one next month. Next up is another Carol and Manning Designs, and this one is called Arctic Blast. It was a free chart. I'm not too sure if it still is over on Facebook, but if it's one that interests you, you can go check out the Facebook page. Carol and Manning Designs Facebook page. She has a lot of other little freebies over on that page, which I've downloaded more recently and hope to start just to add to my already large CM Designs collection. I know quite a few people that are stitching this one and have probably already finished it. Nancy and Barb are also stitching along with me on this one. Nancy's aim is to actually finish hers this year, and I think she is like on track. I think she's like 35-40% or something, and it's looking mighty fine. It's from the Shooting Stars collection as well. That is what the finished result will look like. And I went with a 14 count Ada for mine in blue. I think it's like duck egg blue or something. And I also did a little something different. What have I done with... Sorry, just bear with me, getting a bit tangled here. All right, so I've got lots of random silks and lots of random threads. So on this one, I actually selected a little bit of white silk that I have in my stash together with, I don't even know, this is like a no-name white that I have somehow managed to collect a whole stack of. The silk next to the white doesn't look so white, but it's working. The silk is really fine too. I'm having to use 3 strands on the 14 count. And I'm just sort of replacing some of the, I think it's 3865. I can't remember which white is actually charted, but I've got a combination of all 3. And I think it's going to look pretty cool. I am getting a little nervous on the edges of my fabric, which is why I've stitched it the way I have, because I'm really hoping that I will make it. But stitching out to the edges just to be sure. This is where I am at. So yeah, the blue fabric, I'm really loving this choice. It's looking really good. I only put in 149 stitches, and this was another one that I used for the Winter Olympics challenge. I think it was like Stitch on Something Winter. Arctic Blast worked well. I'm at 4.95% complete on this chart. Yeah. Okay. Next up is another paper chart, and I have a really large collection of these Olga Gostin Australian Heritage Architecture charts. They were brought out by DMC, and I already have one that I started with Barb a couple of years ago, and that's probably about a third of the way through. Again, I pulled this one out. I'm just thinking it was for the Winter Olympics challenge. I think it was Stitch on Something Patriotic. I'm not really a huge patriotic stitcher, but as Barb pointed out, well, this is Australian. So why not work on one of your houses? I started this one as a part of the Easter Fest start last year. Really hadn't made much progress on it and thought, great idea, Barb, let's pull it out and put a few stitches in for the Winter Olympics challenge. So it did get 223 stitches. This is what it's going to look like when it is finished. There's the collection of them on the back here, and I actually have all of those. So ultimately one day, you know, it'd be great to have a little collection of these on the wall, but might need to live forever. This is crazy. All of those flowers cascading down the veranda steps are actually French knots. So let's see how we go on that. I went with a center start. I've used all the kit ingredients. Alicia, we love that term. I love that term. And I'm so glad that you put it out to the universe for people to use. That's Alicia at Adventures of Stitching. And yeah, I've used the term kit ingredients for a very long time now, and was watching Alicia and she threw it out there, and now I'm hearing lots of people use that term, which is fantastic. So all the kit ingredients. and I think it's a 16 count aider, not huge, and I started in the center, so this is where I am at. That is a little Ginger Stitch AU needle minder, the slug, which I picked up at a retreat one year. They are Australian and the quality of their needle minders is fantastic. So if you're into needle minders, go check them out. And that's where I'm at. I actually need to check the colour on this one. I was stitching this and it's remarkably different to the colours on the chart. So I just want to, the colours on the mock-up. So I just want to double check that the DMC colour codes are actually right. But, you know, it's one of those trust the process sorts of scenarios. But yeah, sometimes your eyes just like, I'm not sure that's the same as what I'm looking at on my finished product. So I might just do some cross-referencing. I have had a couple of kits in the past where there has been little errors like that, and it's really disappointed me because I've just continued to trust the process, and in fact there has been an error. So, you know, trust your gut sometimes on these things, I think. Okay, coming to a close, we've got 4 left. I mentioned earlier that the month of February is the unconventional cross stitch month that I like to do. And so I also worked on another one of my charts by that company. This is Freda. I love Frida Kahlo and really wanted a Freda in my collection. And I looked around at many different options over the years until I finally landed on this one that I loved as soon as I saw it. Love the colours. It's also not big. It's only 45,000 stitches, this one. So I put in 887 stitches. I'm at 8.9% complete. And this is where I am at. Top left corner start, 25 count, Lugana, 1/1. And those colours look great. The mock-up, it kind of looks like there's a lot more block stitching than what there is. There's a lot of confetti in this, and in fact it's got a lot of colours. Way more than I would have anticipated looking at the mock-up. So, you know, the depth on this is going to be fabulous when it's finished. And because it's not gigantic, it does seem to be stitching up pretty quickly. Okay, final, is it? Yes, final Carolyn Manning designs for this episode. And it is Ribbon Candy, which is one of the charts that I started with Barb. Last year or the year before, we've sort of put this as our Christmas CM, Carolyn Manning, because of the colours. And this is what it's going to look like when it's finished. So this is from the Broken Star collection, and these ones are smaller than the Shooting Star, and they're not symmetrical. So keep you on your toes a little bit more. And this one is 26,000 stitches in total. So yeah, 10,000 shy of a Shooting Star. I am at 14.96% and I put in 421 stitches since you last saw it. I went with a red Ada, a red 18 count Ada. Never worked on red Ada before, and wowee does it pop. This is where I am at. Nearly got a full page complete on this one as well, and that red is just phenomenal. The only thing that I'm struggling with is stitching the 2 different colours of red on the red, but persevere, the results are worth it. So I really do like experimenting with different coloured fabrics with the Carolyn Mannings. I know they're full coverage, but ultimately when framed, we could keep a little border in there just to give that pop. So yes, check out Barb's version. She's stitching it on a, it's like a kind of a light green. So we both went with the Christmas colours, but the differences in the fabric, amazing. Not a lot of colours on this one either. So some really easy stitching, and I often take that one along as a travel piece. Okay, second last is, well, I already alluded to this chart earlier when I spoke of the Haid sale, and because we were generously gifted the Amy Stewart Stitching Sanctuary chart, I started it. Now, I haven't really made much progress, but I have started it, and I put in 263 stitches since you last saw it for a big 0.08% complete. Let me show you what it's going to look like when it's finished. If you're not familiar with this chart, it is amazing, and it was exclusive to the Haid sale, so only the stitches of the Haid sale 2026 have this chart, which is a bit special. So, you know, goals for a space when I retire, amazing. I went with a top left start. This is a bit of a whopper too. Yeah, 315,000 stitches. So my fabric is not small. She's big. It's a 25 count, 1/1. And there is my tiny little start in the top left corner. I'm really trying not to let things get too carried away on this one. So I'm aiming to finish the 10 by 10 block before moving on. But then I sort of carry on my thread, park it, and go back to the next colour. It's just a method that I find really works for me. But I do need to be disciplined and not get carried away with just stitching the colour that I want to stitch with that has more stitches than the little ninja stitches. So I actually hope to get back to this one and work on this one again this month. I feel like I haven't given it enough time or attention, and yeah, I really am enjoying it. Okay, lucky last, and I do apologise for the noise, this one is packaged. I decided to give a stamped cross stitch a go. And I've never had a stamped cross stitch kit before, but I noticed that a lot of people were jumping on board the stamped train. So I thought, right, I'm gonna do that too. And I'm over on TikTok, and if you're on TikTok, you'll notice that Painting Fairy cross stitch is quite big over there. I think everyone who stitches on that platform has one of these charts, and they really generously gave me a voucher so that I could give their charts a go. So I selected 2. I've only started 1. This is the one that I have started, and it is Autumn Girl and Fox. So that's what she's going to look like when she is finished. She's got real like autumny winter vibes, so maybe this is one that needs to be worked on more in the coming months here in Australia. I'm really pleased with the quality of the stamping, and I think in the past what sort of deterred me from wanting to try stamped was the counts were so large. Like, I think the standard that I really saw were 11 or 14 count. This is an 18 count, which I was really pleased with. It's not huge, and I have not made an enormous start, but I have started it. Let's go with the back first so you can see what I'm talking about. That's how much I have put in. I used this for one of the Winter Olympics stitches. There was something, stitch on something fall or Halloween, that's right. And I went with the fall option because I thought she had real autumn vibes about her. So this is the chart here. Really pleased with the stamping, and that's what I've done. The whole kit came really well packaged with lots of extras, the thread cards, all the thread, and it looks like I've got ample thread as well, so I'm not going to run out. And there's even some blended threads in here too, so I think it's going to be wonderful. So that's what I've been working on since I last saw you, which is a nice, now that I've sort of pulled them all out, a nice mix of a bit of everything. And I hope to continue that with some big full coverages, some smaller pieces, and just keep things ticking along. I'm on a no-buy this year. So Nancy and I set ourselves a challenge at the start of January where we committed ourselves to not buying anything for 2026 and really focusing on diving into our existing stash and trying to make do with what we already have, which is not a problem because both of us have ample things to keep us going. So it was kind of a combination, save a bit of cash, but at the same time, encourage us to use what we already have. Now, we do have a couple of caveats to that because, you know, one of those is Nancy and I are both mad about secondhand purchasing and we love thrifting. So if we found any bargains that would be thrifted, that was excluded from the no buy. So a couple of weeks ago, I actually have a little thrift shop. I'm saying thrift, but here in Australia, we call them op shops, opportunity shops, op. I have a little op shop actually next to, or a couple of doors down from my office, and I often just poke my head in, see what's going on. Well, look what I got a couple of weeks ago. I got 3 pieces of fabric for $2 each, 2 Australian dollars. I got a 32 count Minster linen in Moorland. Beautiful colour. And then I got a 28 count Joberlin in Wood Violet. Love that. I'm almost thinking one of these for a Jed X stitch chart. No, I don't own any, so that will have to wait until next year, unless something else jumps out at me to use those pieces for. And then I got a Joberlin 28 count in light moss. So was really, really pleased and immediately ran to the counter to purchase these. And it was funny because I've done a lot of op shopping in my years for stitchy things. And you tend to pick up pretty quickly which ones you're likely to get something from and which ones you won't. And I think it's based on whether there are stitchers that work with or volunteer within the shops. I don't think there's anyone that stitches in the one close to my office, because nearly every time I go in there I get something. And on this occasion, when I went to purchase these at the counter, the lady actually said to me, "What is that?" So that to me suggests like I might continue to get bargains from this particular op shop. They're my little secrets. Okay, I keep clearing my throat because I have now been talking for 52 minutes and I feel I need a drink. I'm getting a bit scratchy. So I think it's timely that I wrap this video up. But thank you all if you have stuck around and enjoyed what I've had to show you today. I hope to see you again in about another month, which will bring us to nearly Easter. Yeah, I think Easter is early this year, start of April. So yeah, I'm going to go put all this stuff away and now start to swap out a few WIPs with things that I haven't worked on in a little while. Thank you, everyone. Please, if you liked what you saw, subscribe. I am getting close to the 2,000 subscriber mark, which I would really love to hit this year if possible. And I know that's dependent upon me continuing to share my content with you. So it's a bit of a, you know, a bit of a circle where subscribers, motivation continue to be that circle. I look forward to seeing you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful stitchy month. See you. Bye.